Dear brothers and sisters, throughout history, we have seen this conundrum of tyrants that try to legitimize their tyranny. Some of them, especially in our Muslim history, try to appropriate scholars to do so. And almost all of them have been successful at appropriating a scholarly class to be able to do so. And one of the beautiful things about al-a'imma al-arba'a, the four imams, is that all four of them resisted to become mouthpieces for the tyrants of their time. None of them were necessarily combative or confrontational, but they all refused to say what their tyrants wanted them to say. They all refused to take positions that would have compromised their position for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah refused to be a judge, but he'd still give the ruler advice. Imam Malik rahimahullah refused the same thing, but they said to Imam Malik rahimahullah, he said, look, we'll hang the muwatta in the Kaaba. He said, no, you don't need to do me any favors. I don't want anything from you. I want to be able to do my thing, teach the religion, and this is what will happen. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, we know what happened to him. Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah was spared from the majority of it because he lived in Egypt at that time when things were really heating up in Iraq. So he was spared from the majority of it. The point is that people know, tyrants know that the worst type of languaging that they can use is religious languaging to quiet down that voice of haqq. Because if you can make it haqq to be silent in the face of batil, and you can guilt people by telling them that this is actually what the Quran and Sunnah tell you what to do, then all sorts of crimes can happen, because there is no cover like the cover of Allah's word. And if you're giving that type of legitimacy and cover, then that is a powerful form. Now there are scholars, dear brothers and sisters, who are silent throughout. They're not sometimes silent, sometimes not silent. They teach tafsir, they teach hadith as if nothing else is going on in the world, never for or against. They do their thing, they refuse to become mouthpieces and legitimizers for tyranny. They just shun the entire thing. Good for them. That's not sinful. The problem is when your silence is selective, when you reserve strong words against people of haqq, people of truth, and you only use silence with people of batil, with people of tyranny. And in this day and age, every single one of the brutal regimes that exist in the Muslim world employs a scholarly voice or a scholarly class to legitimize their crimes. And it is so threatening to even make dua for unity. Shaykh Salman al-Uda is in prison in Saudi Arabia because he made dua that Allah unites the Muslims. That's why he's locked up and on death row. Because he made dua for islah, he made dua for the unity of hearts. And there are scholars upon scholars loading prisons in the Muslim world, not because they say anything that's controversial, but because they refuse to sing the praises and anashid for dictators and tyrants that violate systematically the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the rights of the people. It's a horrific situation. We ask Allah to protect us and to protect our children in this way. So here's what I want to come to in conclusion. What is the station? What is the reward of a person when they speak these words of truth in the face of tyrants, whether they're in their locality or overseas, wherever they are? The Prophet ﷺ said, Sayyidu Shuhada'i Hamza. The chief, the master of all shuhada, the master of the martyrs is Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu. وَرَجُلٌ قَامَ إِلَى إِمَامٍ جَائِرٍ فَأَمَرَهُ وَنَهَاهُ فَقَتَلَهُ. The Prophet ﷺ said, Hamza and a person who stands up in the face of a tyrant and commands him and forbids him, rectifies him, and the tyrant kills him as he does so. Hamza radiallahu anhu was the first one to take the Prophet ﷺ to go in the face of Abu Jahl and to give him a taste of his own medicine and speak up for the deen. Now Hamza radiallahu anhu made a very significant impact on the course of Islamic history. But the Prophet ﷺ said that he who embodies the courage of Hamza will have the station of Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu on the Day of Judgment. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant that to all of us. Allahumma ameen. All we can do, dear brothers and sisters, beyond our du'as, is to continue to use what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to us when we speak about the tyranny that exists all around the world. But the point is that no tyrant should ever feel comfortable in their tyranny, whether they are from amongst the Muslims or whether they are clear in their enmity towards the Muslims. At no point should a tyrant stop feeling pressure. And on that note, on September 22nd, the butcher of Gujarat, a man who is delighting in the fascism around the world today, with an enabler here in the United States, a partner in Benjamin Netanyahu named Modi, is coming to Houston to a sold-out crowd of 50,000 people that are going to welcome him. We're going to be sending buses from around the country, one here from Valley Ranch Islamic Center, inshallah ta'ala, and I hope that we have over 50,000 people outside of that arena as well to let him know that he is not welcome, and to make him a little bit more uncomfortable, and to raise our voices for our brothers and sisters in Kashmir in whatever way that we possibly can. Whatever way that we possibly can. This does not absolve you of dua, and you better check your intentions. If you're being loud for something that is true also, to make sure that that is sincere and it is for truth also. And I want to end on this note. When I was in Houston for the icna convention, some of you were there, Bernie Sanders spoke at the icna convention and hit on pretty much every Muslim cause in the world. Talked about Kashmir, talked about Yemen, talked about Palestine, and though he fell short on Palestine, as he usually does, talked about the Uyghurs, talked about all these different things, and I sat there with great joy and then great sadness, and I thought, how sad is it that Bernie Sanders could speak up for the Uyghurs, but 22 Muslim countries signed a letter to the United Nations approving of China's concentration camps for 3 million Muslims. And I don't need to start listing those countries. A day after, 37 non-Muslim countries, and I use non-Muslim and Muslim here loosely, sent a letter to the United Nations calling for sanctions on China for their treatment of Uyghur Muslims. That same night, and I'm going to be very blunt here, because we know that there are certain governments that are so open in their enmity towards the Muslims from amongst the Muslim world, that will celebrate Modi and give him medals and parade him around. And some people say, well, we got this set of governments and we got this set of governments. Yes, not all of them are alike. You've got some that are horrific in their tyranny towards the Muslims. And you've got some that do a little bit better, but they're not angels. Because that same night, a Muslim leader was projected on the screen at icna and celebrated, a same Muslim leader who penned an op-ed for Kashmir, but who also abandoned his brothers and sisters from the Uyghurs. Don't give a pass to that garbage. Don't make this a Pakistan-India issue, by the way. There are no leaders here that are completely clean in this situation. Be principled in your critique, be principled in standing up for your brothers and sisters wherever they are, and for whatever reason, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to use us for that which is good, to forgive us for our shortcomings, to use us for our brothers and sisters all around the world, and make that all for His sake. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liberate our brothers and sisters in Kashmir and Palestine, and from the Uyghurs and from the Rohingya and wherever they may be. Allahumma ameen. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.